Good afternoon, and welcome to today's podcast as we take a look at this day in history. And guaranteed, you're going to get a perspective, a spiritual perspective on this day in history from a soul that, for whatever reason, is in this time space reality. I have had my own unique trauma associated from this particular day. It could be said that we have no control over where we're born and who our parents are. I was born in Portland, Oregon in 1980. Son of an Afghan father and an American mother. I would go on to be the only person in a country of 300 million to speak about this day with a critical lens, while those actually from that country, those actually of the religion of Islam, not only have kept their mouths shut for the most part, but have never supported my work. I have been a man without a tribe for a lot of different reasons. A big part of it has solely to do with discussing this particular day. Being from Portland, Oregon, I saw how the liberals, I saw how the left demonized me as a conspiracy theorist. I had people over the years shout in my face and tell me that people like me were discrediting real research. I saw myself inspired by a younger Alex Jones to find myself later in years exposing Alex Jones, because I don't believe that Alex Jones today is the traditional Alex Jones that supposedly was about exposing why these wars have begun, why they're expanding, and now he's actually working on behalf of the military-industrial complex when we read between the lines. So the 9/11 whole thing, not only in the event, but there's the thing called the truth movement. There's the thing called the alternative media. There are so many different dynamics. But for those of you, right, that have shared your opinion about this day, you may have empathy for the idea of being ostracized, right, from your parents and even divorces. There's a man by the name of Richard Gage, and I believe that he is with Architects for 9/11 Truth, and his wife left him with regards to his activism. And I saw how my activism, I've seen how my views have alienated a lot of people from me. I've also seen how people have used the tragic events of this day. I don't just mean the alleged terror attack, but the idea of it being a staged event for people in the West to act like they are the ultimate victims. Surveillance society, right? A greater debt. But do they ever talk about the millions dead? Sometimes they do. I've seen people talk about the millions dead in Afghanistan and Iraq when they're putting the whole blame on Hillary Clinton. She's a part of the system. Barack Obama's a part of the system. And George Bush is a part of the system. But anyone that continues those wars in the Middle East, in Iraq and Afghanistan, are a part of the same military industrial complex. Donald Trump hinted at the idea of a 9/11 investigation. It was a lie. But if those people really cared about innocent Afghans, and for those of you that have actually done research into Afghan history, here's a few things that you know. It wasn't until the Russians destabilized Afghanistan that you had a world where women were living in a greater level of terror and fear. And later on, through the Taliban, the burqa. It was a burqa-free society in Afghanistan, for those of you with whether it's a solid grasp of the English language or not. And it doesn't mean that those regions don't have barbaric histories, but so does the West. So there are people that are speaking to us now with devil's tongues that are trying to paint billions of people with a wide brush. And there's a genocide blueprint, unfortunately. So I'm here to let you know, as the only person with genetics from that part of the world in the English-speaking alternative media as an American. Everyone else is afraid. I have been brave all these years and have faced the threat of death and the worst of the worst, knowing those people are killed and raped all the time. It takes bravery to actually be the only one and stand alone. And look at my audience numbers, and I thank you for being there. But it's predominantly support from the West, Westerners, the dominant demographics of my homeland here in the West. Now in Colorado, I escaped Oregon in recent years. There isn't support for what I do and what I've exposed and the people that I've had on my program over the years. Let me list them with regards to this day. David Ray Griffin, the late Robert Bowman, Jack Blood, Alex Jones, old school Alex Jones, back in the day where you would even see yours truly with a megaphone in the streets of Portland. And of course, I shed some tears that some people would like to exploit. There's a video of me sharing some emotion. Type in Alex Ansary psychotic breakdown, right? People want to capitalize. People want to feel my pain. Well, feel my pain. Let's talk about what it's like without all the tears and emotion. Let's talk about where that emotion comes from. A period in time in which I used to reach Portlanders that we've got to end these wars, that there's a greater reason why we're at war. These are the things that I would say to the Democrats. And look at how some of them are looking at me. Now, that was a time where there was the most amount of acceptance. But they generally looked at my message with that of suspicion. A lot of people told me openly they thought I was a provocateur from the government who would be saying that 9/11 wasn't as we were told. People would tell me they were afraid to have me over to their house because they would be afraid that the FBI would run a tap. So a lot of the post 9/11 fear mongering not only disturbed me, right? And so the seeds of post traumatic stress disorder with regards to fear for my own safety in the future, it was planted around the time of 9/11. Now, having already given you as much information as I already have, I might as well again go even further. I mean, you want to talk about alienating yourself from your mother and your father when you were already kind of at odds with both. And so I saw how pretty much on both sides of the family, no one really understood, I guess, the role that I was trying to play. So I saw something in other people that were on the planet that were authors. Let me get back to some names. I also met some very disturbed people that are in the 9/11 truth movement. I wouldn't necessarily call them provocateurs. I would call them opportunists. I would call them opportunists and people that got involved in fringe 9/11 conspiracy theories to either to sell books or sell DVDs, but there's definitely disinformation as well. I'm going to be bouncing around, of course, delivering a commentary on this day like no other. But yeah, I saw the movement really splinter outwards, what should have been about the victims of war. And in a period in life where I was standing up to something that I felt could kill me, a system where people are black bagged, a world where people are tortured, a world where those people over there, right, are raped in front of their parents or their parents raped in front of them. These people that have committed these crimes are in our society and they have never been held accountable. And see, it seems obvious to me that the 9/11 truth movement, for lack of a better word, has been co-opted a long, long time ago. And when you know that Alex Jones early on, right, was there conveniently in the summer of 2001, really a week after William Cooper mentioned the potential of Osama bin Laden being involved in a psyops. But now we have Alex Jones giving out a warning in July of 2001. This is also a couple years after True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And if you review that movie, uh, the whole fear of that particular group over there, right, striking multiple cities at once, that was in a Arnold Schwarzenegger movie in 1996 when Clinton was the president. So, when I first heard Alex Jones, it did sound like a Nazi, to be honest with you, but that made no sense. I'm thinking, here he is. He's coming to the aid of the Afghans. I'm telling you what drew me to Alex Jones in 2001, 2000. He's exposing why we're at war. He's exposing the surveillance society. He's exposing the microchip. 9/11, the road to tyranny. The intro. It's like, wow, this guy is the resistance. And I got involved. And I saw my social life evaporate. I saw people that were attracted to me during one point. I shed tears over that. Tell me, Alex, I don't believe that there is a new world order. And for a guy like me, right, that never felt loved by his parents for being an independent thinker, non-religious, a man that has gone his own way, don't be the only man of either side of my family to be a public speaker about anything. My topics, of course, for those of you that are not first-time viewers. There's the off-grid information and journeys that I've shared with you freely. There's the solar flare research in the PDF that's coming out with my friend that's helping me with the citations, my first published written work. There's going to be a book about my life that's going to be more detailed about, those 9/11 years in Portland and my awakening. There's a lot of information about where all this is going from 9/11 to the invasion of the United States. I understand there's some people out there that just don't see it, that just don't feel it, but I've been consistent. I don't bounce around to planet Y, W. I don't jump over to planet Pop-Tart. And I never, ever, with regards to discussions about psychic attack, encourage you to go to certain people to get yourself cleared, because unless you know personally who those people are, that is bad advice and information. The following, you could see the emails that came in from last night. People are trying to send me into different directions, false directions, with regards to the open-hearted teaching and sharing that I am providing with them. And so as a person that's providing all this different information with a lot of you, I find my soul under attack in the body that you see before you. The body that you see before you is the most hated form in this new America and the new Europe, a combination of Anglo-Saxon genetics and combination of genetics from the ancient part of the world, the bombed part of the world. It is I, and I have stood alone. I have stood alone with people looking at me just like that guy looking at me funny in the back. What's wrong with that guy? And maybe he was in support. But a lot of people right now are just looking at me like the crazy guy. And you need to know who I am. You need to know who I am. I am the only man with that combination of genetics in the independent media. It contributes to my insight. Now, my soul, for whatever reason, might have picked the combination of genetics to start reading some codes, some DNA strands. I'm not really sure. But the events of 9/11 traumatized the soul inside this body. All of a sudden, after 21 years of life and the trauma already endured by my mother, and the disinformation she tried to force feed me about the New Age stuff in the 80s, we're not talking about archons. We're talking about trust of entities. We're talking about stuff I rebelled against. And having lived my whole life with my American mother and almost white supremacist leaning family, I never got to know that culture from that part of the world. Only in a few years of my teenage years, knowing what it was like to be rejected by Muslims for having Buddhist leanings. It would be many years later that white supremacists would hate me and misconfuse me for a Muslim. But really, we all know why I'm hated. Everyone here in the room knows why I'm hated. For some reason, the devil of this world hates the combination of those genetics. And I don't know why this is a threat to the demiurge or the archon of this world, but apparently it's become an issue, and I came on their radar. I would say going all the way back to the early 80s, I came upon their radar. And that's when the spiritual attacks on my person began and the trauma began. It wasn't until this event, when there was a needle in my arm, that led to an arrest, which is a crime. Now, they're making it a misdemeanor now. But when I was 19 years old, it was a felony. So there's people that want to exploit my pain. I invite them to learn about my story and buy my book, because it's going to get into all this stuff that's not even on the internet, my full story, everything. You know, my parents have had a long time to heal the wound with me. To say, Alex, we don't agree with everything that you say, but we see that you're brave. Dude, you're a brave dude. They could have killed you a long time ago. People don't say that. What they do is they want to feed on my pain. They enjoy it. But why? Because my soul essence is in those tears. It's my soul. So some people think, hell, I'm going to show people Alex's tears. I'm going to show people Alex has a soul. So we're now in the year 2017, and we're actually seeing more hatred now towards a particular part of the world as the death toll in Afghanistan is about to explode. There has apparently been an obvious delay. Now, they've been calling the Afghan population. We can go back to the Russian invasion of Afghanistan and the Russian rapes that occurred. We could talk about the babies that were thrown in the fire. What you really have here with 9/11 and 9/11 truthers are opportunists that use 9/11 conspiracy memes for their own Google AdSense. There's another person out there, I'm sure, is doing a stream right now about 9/11. What will you not hear from these alternative media figures on this sacred day of mass death. Okay, this is like our Aztec mass death, the sacrifice of the Afghan. Wasn't a white genocide. Sure, they sacrificed thousands of troops, but they've killed millions of Afghans and Iraqis. And there are people now amongst you, Facebook friends that some of you have. Some of you tolerate this behavior. Some of you don't. But a great deal of you know exactly what I'm talking about. A meme has come about and was a delayed response 16 years later, and it's called Kill Them All. And it's based on genetics. It's not based on religion. If it was based on religion, it would solely be against those members of Islam. So it's bigger than Islamophobia. It's about genetics. It's about an attack on a particular combination of genetics that, for whatever reason, perhaps enhance perceptions. It's a threat to the devil of this world. Everything that I represent. What do you think, or where do you think my information about the solar flares is really coming from? It sure seems like a lot of information that I've brought to you in the 12 years that I've been on YouTube. And it sure seems that the more information that I share with you, the less support that I get, the more the attacks increase from people that have actually never put themselves on the chopping block. I'll tell you what, it's not government forces that are screwing with me. It's everyday human beings that have been taught to hate. But why? So we're seeing fires, and we're seeing natural disasters. We're seeing the largest solar flare in a decade. And for over a decade, and some of you are new viewers, and you share your 2 cents every now and then, you definitely want to check out the information I've already put out there. I put a lot of work out there, a lot of videos out there about the solar impact on human consciousness and the weather. It doesn't mean that there aren't weather wars. It doesn't mean that fires don't actually get started. It doesn't mean that people don't just naturally get in fights and wars break out. It's that there are also other conduits. There are other influences. And so when we look at this period of, let's go back, September 11th, 2001, I was lost as a soul prior to that. Okay. I was traumatized seeing my father's psychotic nature with his attempted hands around my throat. As I then showed my father my physical strength, being a combination of genetics of both himself and my father, where the sperm egg hits together and becomes one, where the sperm and the egg meet. And instead of being the weakest of the Ansaris and the Nagels, I am the physically strongest of all of them, hands down, cannot be defeated, cannot be out-debated. No one on either side of the supposed pure bloodline, ever a single YouTube video, no information whatsoever. You're dealing with cowardly spirits that threw away what they thought was a half-breed. And then the world had its way with me. People would tell me throughout my life in this post-9/11 era, Alex, it's just in your head. People are just looking at you different because they think you're beautiful. They think that's why my life was like this. Now at the age of 37 in a friggin' shed in the middle of the wilderness. But what some people think is defeat, right? I'm seeing the writing on the wall. Any society that would look the other way regarding this, that would allow millions to die, that would allow their society to be turned into a police state, that's a society going down. Raising questions about 9/11 isn't being anti-American. They use this event to take out America and even make America look very barbaric and, white nationalism and all these things that are taking place. It's a massive psyops. What you're not hearing from others in this movement, right? You're not getting this additional perspective. This was a global job. This was a global job. Mother Russia knew exactly, as some people refer to it. I'm not calling it Mother Russia. But why do some people call it Mother Russia? Mother Russia. So I remember reading reports early on that Russian troops were outside Afghanistan before 9/11. They were already looking at an intervention in that country. All the while, the Taliban were being funded from Pakistan, and Pakistan has been connected with the CIA. It said that the ISI was created by the CIA. So what we've seen in Syria is really a more advanced version of what Russia and the United States already did to Afghanistan. As far as I am concerned, these superstate nations are working together, and it would take someone compassionate for, right, innocent lives to even begin to look in that direction. I've been asking myself for many, many years, why are there so few people compassionate with regards to innocent lives? The follow-up, I've also been the only person amongst us that has also raised the question, well, then how does this lead to the invasion of America? How does the Afghan genocide and the genocide in Iraq lead to a white genocide that today's white nationalists aren't even talking about, but something actually being executed by China and Russia? See, and a lot of people won't wake up to the fact that I've been trying to help them for years. I've never been their enemy, but there's a reason they've made me their punching bag. And this ain't over yet. I've watched so many of you with your head in your sand, the head in the sand, from the left and the right, deny that there's a culling taking place in the Middle East of innocent lives. So many people unaware that traditionally Afghanistan has also had non-Muslims. It's had a population of Buddhists, as I was discussing earlier in the 1960s. Women were starting to go to school. They weren't wearing a burqa. There are many Westerners, right, that have become so possessed with hatred. And the Durka Durka, the Durka Durka, and the Durka Durka. And they're proud to show that their soul is marked by the devil. You think about prisoners and prisoner behavior. Well, think about hell. We're in a hell dimension. Subscribe to this channel if you're new. The main topic of this channel is that we're in a soul matrix prison. And 9/11 is a topic on this channel. But I'm here as a soul that somehow was either thrown in as punishment into a combination of genetics, right? While your world would deny there's any of that going on for years, only to see more and more millions dead and find myself without allies off the grid with people claiming they support with what? $49 coming in every month. Meanwhile, I look at people that have dominated the 9/11 conversation that people flock to because those people don't want to hear about the innocents. They don't want to hear about the only human, right, in any of the Western countries. None of you find that to be an anomaly. None of you find that to be special. Only those that want to attack that bravery within me are attracted to this channel. Where have the women been also that have appreciated my coverage? Middle Eastern women, women in America that have talked about these women being raped by troops. See, here we have on the left and the right two forms of rape hysteria. One is, hey, all these people are born rapists. Let's kill every Middle Eastern human. That's one popular narrative that's going to lead to a genocide. The other one, from the left, men are bad. Rape culture. Ooh. So when you have a Middle Eastern male like you do in the picture there, right, who's holding the megaphone, considered crazy. The person people attack because he wears his soul on his sleeve. He allows his tears to flow like a river. And then people want to capitalize on that. People want to suck onto that and want to hurt that. There's no one like me in this planet of 7 billion. I have looked, I have yelled, screamed, stomped. Drop a link down below. Show me who's like me. Show me the support that exists for the unique work that I'm doing that some people say is very special. Where is the support? Where is the love? As I said yesterday, if you have any compassion for me, you're a minimum of 1,000 to 2,000 miles away because the level of psychic attack upon this body, this soul that whether I was cast down into that body before you, right, or I chose, I don't know. But what I do know is I'm doing time in a spiritual penitentiary. And so are you, whether you agree with that or not. All these people in this picture, as well as that woman in those buildings, we're all doing time here in the soul matrix. This was a pivotal day when I realized who I was, when I realized the things that I would grow older to do and say Why? My mother almost seemed possessed to traumatize me as a little boy and tell me, you're not good enough. I'm here to correct you. I'm your mother. And then my father later, I brought you in this world. I can take you out. Only to see my father serve those that would kill the Afghan. And we are talking about the military industrial complex of the United States. People think Durka Durka. They don't understand. My father is with the empire. And so not only did he try to break me psychologically, almost spiritually as if it was destined, by the time I was 18, I got away from my father after only a few years with him. No longer the beautiful times visiting the weekend dad from 1996 to 1998. Oh, I saw the real jerk. But fast forward to 2001, I'm long removed from my dad and his family. There was no healing. There was no grieving. There was no hugging. There was no. It was Alex Ansary on his own in Portland, Oregon, before the guy in this picture picked up the megaphone. But at the time of this, it was poison going in my body because I was self-destructing. It was jails, institutions, and everything short of death. But when this happened, the eye of Sauron could be seen by my spiritual center. I realized the battle of good and evil that was waging, and that it was about genetics and a dark side, even something that even, the biggest alien gray conspiracy theorists, many of them weren't able to see it. Some were. Many forgot. But that was like an Aztec sacrifice. Boom! Afghans hit you. 9/11. Actually, it was an operation that was orchestrated, but it didn't matter. Everything was set up. The Taliban was funded, and the door, the portal to hell, was opened, and a culling of innocent men, women, and children began. Fast forward to 2015, 2016, 2017. Yours truly would be the only one to talk to you about Facebook, AI, and YouTube promoting extremist content about a false Islamic invasion of the West to justify the millions murdered after this event. We now are actually dealing with more possessed humans that are willing to go along with the genocide than the immediate days after 9/11. It was a delayed effect. This makes sense to you. There's going to be a lot more people dead in the next few years. Maybe I'll be with them. Very few of you have taken this seriously enough. You've laughed at me. I left Portland. They laughed at me. They called me paranoid when I said one day I could be targeted because I am the only speaker in the movement of this genetics. And right now it's psychic warfare. They're possessing some audience members that are trying to engage in just creating pain as an extreme sport. But when we talk about coordinated attacks on the likes of the tail end of Scarface, the movie, okay, we don't know if it's going to go that way, running games, Hunger Games, or if there's going to be some peace on Earth, maybe a solar flare to interrupt all of these things. When I was a child, though, long before the events of this, the person in the picture before you would have imaginations and daydreams about solar cycles and the Earth's reality changing dramatically. No power. Even things like martial arts or self-defense being necessary to defend yourself from attack. It was like I was having a vision. Other things that came up in those childhood visions. Technology scanning our consciousness being scanned. But yeah, as I got involved in YouTube, especially, I began to feel the psychic attacks increase. And it has something to do with however I'm perceiving this reality differently than you. Giving you and delivering to you, the audience, if you can hear me now, that I truly believe they were going to stage this invasion of the United States by the mid-2025s. I don't jump around to different topics. I don't take requests to talk about whatever the audience wants. I discuss what my soul is here in this body, however long it lasts, however temporary it is. But I'm here to do my job and deliver a message. Now, for whatever reason, and I'm not really sure why, not only was I cast down into a body that would become the most hated of all there is, more so than blacks, for some that are super racist to blacks. It's really viewed as a threat to the demon of this world. For me to be speaking whatever I'm speaking, for me to be expressing my cognitive function, a combination of these genetics, and to be the only one with these combination of genetics in the post 9/11 world. It's amazing that I'm not dead yet. But instead of some of you recognizing maybe there's a reason why, it seems that the importance of some of these things has been overlooked. It seems that I'm an easy target. I keep praying to the Creator for more of you that are of a higher consciousness nature to begin to reveal yourself in real life, in the physical, in the physical, in the physical. Because this activist that you see before you on the screen, everything that I have done to help you has resulted in the punishment and the hell on earth that I'm living each and every day. I don't think people really understand. Somebody who actually subscribes to this channel says, well, I hope you at least have one person to talk to. No, I have never been more isolated and alone and vulnerable than any other day or hour than the moment that I speak to you now. It's almost as if it's in-game time, the end of my life, the end of this. See, all of you that have compassion, you're thousands of miles away, and you're still not able to connect the dots, as I asked you to yesterday. Why is it that only the people that say that they care are 2,000 miles away? I mean, I have one person who's writing to me like amazing things of a sensitive nature who understands what's going on, and she's in a foreign country. She's not even in America. No female in America is sending like information with depth and thought and caring. It's all simulated. It's all artificial intelligence. And the support for this program has never been lower. And what did I do? In a way, I sacrificed myself and him. If somebody wants to come and threaten my life, they can come and take it. Then go ahead and threaten family members. They don't understand the pain that I'm already going through. I have no family. Because of the actions of the man in the screen before you, I've been considered crazy by my mother. Now let's talk about that trauma that also followed 9/11 and the early life trauma that she brought me. All this has been viewed as negative, that of the dark side. We're already enlightened. The people just haven't woken up to it yet. All is love. All is love. All is love. Right. And there are people that talk a good line about that, but they don't know the first thing about love. And coming from Portland, Oregon, I've seen people like flock to the channelers, flock to the fake healers, flock to the people that tell them that the aliens are here to save us, the elementals. They all have their name. And I've also been, through the megaphone, metaphorically, here on this YouTube, exposing, right, those false archangels. My topics just jump all over the map. In reality, we can all agree I've barely exposed the surface of what they've really done to the Afghan people. And it weighs on my soul in this total solar eclipse here at the age of 37 years old, years young. Where have been the other Afghans? Where have been the other Muslims? Are they targeted by particular types of weapons and psychic warfare if they were to show that they were awake? See, what a lot of people don't understand is that some people talk about being a targeted individual, but they're not teachers. They're not speaking about certain issues. Their whole YouTube channel could just be about, them and their smart meter. Kind of like a warped version of Mr. Rogers. Welcome, neighbor. Welcome to the thoughts inside my head. I'm a targeted individual. But yeah, let me tell you about being a targeted individual when society fears your name. When society says you hate white people, right? When all you're doing is discussing now in a reality when I'm in public, people look 2 or 3 times. And none of you are allies in the friendship means at all. Support has never been lower. So somehow or another, people are able to watch my experience and realize I'm the only person who's activated from those 2 lines. And people aren't realizing that the future humans, that may be a similar combination of genetics, it seems like our heads are on the chopping block. And people are just running around, looking around like that guy in the jean jacket. He's looking the other way. Yeah, they're looking at the redneck revolt. Yeah, hey, the other whites are coming to save the day. The leftists are going to hold back the genocide. Give me a friggin' break about your redneck revolt, because you ain't stopping no genocide. The wheels are already in motion. The one friend I have, the one savior I have, the only alpha energy that's going to be in my life, ladies and gentlemen, is the Creator. Because if it wasn't for the Creator, I would have already been killed. Perhaps some have tried and failed. Perhaps some have forgotten. But it's only through the Creator that I remain alive, that I spoke for years and would even get in arguments with, different people in bars in Portland. You would have thought those people would have lynched me. 20 people pulled me, stripped me, then just start stabbing me left and right. But no, they just isolated me. Just like your world today just isolates me. Alex, you're sharing too much emotion. Can't you just be like everybody else? Just talk about weather wars. Just talk about GMO. Just talk about what we are vibing to, not what you are vibing to and your soul. Alex, why can't you just be what we want you to be? I gave you $5. I want you to be what I want you to be. Won't you be my bitch? The thing is, none of you can mount me. Okay, this isn't some jujitsu session, right? This isn't some high school thing. None of you are permitted to mount me. I'm a man, and I'm the only man amongst you in a nation of millions, right? That's warning that this coming world war not only is staged, but is coming around 2025. You will call me crazy today and or pull your support. Tomorrow, things are going to change. Things are going to change. We have the next eclipse, by the way, in 2024. Now, how long will things change before the guy in this picture is accepted again by your tribe and society? I don't know. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. I don't know how long I'll have my health. I don't know. I don't know if I have a few years left in human form before mass genocide and roundup. I don't know if I'm going to have till I'm 80. I'm certainly not planning for the Pleiadians, though, to take me to planet B. I'm assuming for the most part that I'm going to be on Earth for the majority of this whole ordeal. But I guarantee you I'm the only one amongst you still. It's connecting the dots between the solar flares on 9/11, the intensity, how they staged that event during a particular moment in time, spiritual warfare, spiritual attacks, solar flares, already a time where some people kill themselves and do drugs. Hey, what a time to go. Hey, terrorists hit you from Afghanistan. Now go kill millions. And by the way, here are some steroids. And if you're not angry enough, the U.S. is going to have friends with warlords that are pedophiles while they kill innocent Afghans that aren't pedophiles. You see how this works? They take favoritism to the warlords that buy and sell little Afghani boys. And so soldiers and Americans that don't know any better, that our own government has funded the worst, they don't know they've killed off the best of the best. That's how sick these demons and trolls have become. They don't know that many of the millions of people that have been killed are innocent. They don't know there's like off-grid Afghans that are like off-grid Americans that live away from crazy Muslims for their own safety. They're more interested in goats. They're more interested in living off the grid. They're more interested in protecting their daughter from a world that would make her wear the burqa. So what do the drones do? They attack those Muslims that fled the radical Muslims so they can box them back into Kabul. That is how sick and satanic those are that are participating in the genocide and promoting false memes that the Afghans are rapists, that the Iraqis are rapists, when they are the ones raping them, when they are the ones raping them, when they are the ones surveilling, raping, hunting them, and literally in some cases drinking their blood. We are literally on a reptilian planet, and a lot of you just will not admit it. Shaky, shaky, shaky. There's no place like home. The collective shift in consciousness. Anybody calling this a shift in consciousness cannot be trusted with scissors. Cannot be trusted with scissors. Let's also talk about those corrupt Afghanis. Those sick, corrupted Afghanis, Iraqis, or Muslims that would work on behalf of the military-industrial complex, either as translators or providing other forms of auxiliary support May God have mercy on their soul. Because for those that aid the invasion, for those that aid the genocide, a great hell is waiting for them. I wonder sometimes what this great hell that's waiting for them will look like. Is it coming back to the earth and living throughout their own creation? I often wonder why my soul is here. And what did I do wrong many lifetimes back to be sentenced here with you? But see, it's like Plato in the allegory of the cave. I'm telling you, we're in a soul matrix prison. And there are some people telling me that's not the truth. We're already in paradise. It's just like we're living in paradise. It's just like living in paradise. Really, this is paradise. Yeah, 9/11, never forget. You betcha. There's no forgetting. There's no forgetting that I incarnated into a world that so few of you can identify with. You know, one of the only Afghans that ever contacted me in the past was like believing his job was to tell me that I was being gang stalked by the government and that all my theories about spiritual warfare were BS and that I was crazy and that there literally was a team of 50 to 100 assigned on me at all times. Okay, that's psychosis. And anyone trying to plant those seeds is mentally ill. The only people that have ever been drawn to my content, with the exception of very few Muslims, one out of 100,000 viewers. So for those of you that are Islamic that are listening, you're one out of 100,000 to one out of a million. I know, no BS. And so that's been really interesting. It seems that those of you, the Caucasians of the West, that are my 99.9% of the audience, of course, welcome to the few African Americans that are joining. But for some reason, I've been speaking within this culture for a long, long time because the message is supposed to be received here. It's you that I'm talking to about your upcoming invasion by China and Russia. It's not the Afghans. It's not in Farsi. It's to Americans in the English language discussing with you, the only one amongst you, of the path from 9/11 to the Chinese-Russian invasion and the white slavery that will follow. All of these people that are talking about the power and strength of the white race, they have no support to show my warnings for what's coming to the white race. Okay. This is very important for you to notice. Okay. Now, they're more interested in saying, that's not going to happen. We're always going to be on top. We're always going to have the top military. You hate white people, Alex, because you think there's racism. Meanwhile, there's literally racism going on all around. That if you're not a pure white, you don't belong in America. You belong in America. And the people calling them supremacists seem to be showing the most inferior forms of intellects that we have seen for thousands of years. So it's important for people to understand this. It's important for people to understand also the white supremacy that we're seeing. Some of it is coming from Russia. Their goal is to destroy the entire American image so the New World Order can conquer. But as long as Americans don't care, right, about the millions dead, then they're not able to actually see how the U.S. and Russia have worked together to destabilize whole regions on the earth. And that includes China. The United States and China both helping destabilize Africa. That's right, with their proxy wars. Despite all the eclipses and 2 minutes of an orgasm, uncontrollable forced crying under the eclipse. And yet, people are unable to connect the dots between this and bad luck that may befall the United States in the future. We have become a nation where the man that says that we have a soul is hated. Person without a tribe, let go by both sides of a tribe because he speaks differently about 9/11, speaks differently about geopolitics, lives differently and lives off the grid, like an animal, some would say, right? Like an animal without running water and the things that you get to enjoy. No, I don't have a warm home, ladies and gentlemen, this winter. I have a shed where I'll be surrounded by snow, snowed in, right? Nothing's going to come in for Christmas. There's going to be no Christmas dinner for me. There's going to be nothing for my birthday. There's going to be no get-togethers on Thanksgiving. There's going to be nothing but mostly troll-like behavior. And a few people say, we love you, Alex. Don't give up, buddy. Don't you give up. I'll try not to kill myself along the way. Thanks. Meanwhile, I am the only one amongst you living this ongoing nightmare. not only of the genetics of that which is targeted and may be taken out in the next few years, unless God intervenes and brings actual humans to me in the state of Colorado that will be my friends and aides, that will not be provocateurs, that will not be here to sabotage, but will actually be my brothers and sisters. They could arrive now, but they're not being called by the Creator. They're just watching me from a distance, watching me from a distance, stalking me from a distance, obsessing on me from a distance, not thinking or using empathy for 1 second out of their entire day of the nightmare this soul is living in that body. And I don't know when it's going to end. I don't know what the next lifetime is going to be. I think about Neo in the Matrix and him waking up and screaming, right? And I don't want to be Neo anymore. In my mind, like taking the red pill and waking up and going, I just want out of the soul prison, right? So if I have to sacrifice my own life by putting my name out there so I can get one killed and put away in the future, right? Because I'm marked at this point. I'm marked. My middle name is Saeed. I'm marked. A lot of you that are like living in fantasy world, you don't understand. I'm marked. We're in the world of AI where they're flagging names and they're flagging videos. But of course, you have a particular ethnicity being removed off the earth. I'm a part of that ethnicity. And you know this. And it's never really come to a lot of you that I may not be with you past the next few years. You just keep laughing all of this off. Well, millions are dying that few of you are saying anything about, and you expect me to think that you care about me when you just say you care about me with a sentence. What have you done to show you're actually concerned for my life, or you see what's happening now in America? You haven't, and most of you can't. I'm just here to be your YouTube entertainer. You're my buddy, Alec. You're my buddy. No, bro, you ain't been through that. You ain't white people. Bro, I thought you were different. I'm going to go over here to Alex Jones. People shake me in this prison. Why do people want to hurt others? Why do people hurt and rape others in prison? How are we seeing how this soul prison brings out prison-like behavior? So shifting things, it's like, yeah, people want me to do a 9/11 show. Alex, do a 9/11 show. It's like, do you want to hear the 9/11 bullet points? Or do you want to hear how this day exiled me from your society forever? It doesn't matter how many people say this was important. We know where it's led. Okay. We know that it's led to the end of the road for me. We know that 9/11 material is demonetized on the internet. We can see statistically, and I've shown you how my own work has resulted in a plummeting of support, especially since I went off the grid and chose to not hump the Trump. This meant nothing to this society. The bravery, the willingness to be hurt, to be called names, it's meant nothing to your society, despite all the people talking about how they're remembering 9/11. They're remembering their traumas. Remembering, what about those that have been traumatized because they were thrust in particular bodies, with seemingly the only one of their genetics with enough passion and spirit, knowledge, and speaking ability to scream to others, yet be called crazy? What you believe is a lie. There's another reason.